Good morning. Oh, this is fun. My name is Katie. I'm a junior high librarian in Auburn, Alabama. I taught 8th grade language arts for 14 years, and I've been a librarian for 6 years. Love them both. So a little bit, my school is about 1,500 8th and 9th graders. We adopted a one-to-one laptop program in 2006. And so we had a culture of technology for a really long time. And the librarian that preceded me had already purchased Sora and was collecting books and building the library and everything like that. If you're unfamiliar with Sora, it is an e-reading app, and Overdrive is the company behind it, where you purchase books and everything like that. But I'm going to talk a little bit about some of our keys to success with Sora. So I pulled the data because I love some data, and you can see this is our users. With 1,500 students, most years about 50% of our students use Sora. So I talk to them, and I find that one of the big things for our students is the convenience. We're on a former high school campus. It's really big. It's sprawling across more than 60 acres. And for some of our students, access to the library is a big challenge. Those 9th graders whose classrooms tend to be far away, it's hard to get there. So they really love to be able to get a book without relying on a teacher to send them to the library. They love that convenience. And I find through those casual conversations with them that the ones who do use Sora tend to always have a book. So they're repeat users, very, very persistent users. So I love that about it. You can see with the checkouts, we've got a couple of things that happened where we saw a really good peak. So that first one is when we did switch to the one-to-one iPads. So going from a browser-based access to the app was stunning. We were averaging in the couple of years prior to this, somewhere between 750 and a little over 1,000 checkouts a year. And then we jumped to about 5,000 checkouts a year. So that's been spectacular. And one of the things I love is students don't just use their iPads. They can put it on their phones and have access at home. They'll have an audiobook going on their phone and an ebook going on their iPads, but it's amazing. And then the other big jump there you'll see is in the 2020-2021 school year. Of course, post closed down, we had about 25% of our students chose to do virtual learning. And so the district decided to go ahead and purchase an Advantage collection. So everyone in the district shares some books. But I think part of that also was the switch to single sign-on, which I'll talk about a little bit in a minute. So 3 of the things that I really love about using Sora is the user design. It's just so easy for kids to get into and to browse and to find what they are wanting. The accessibility tools that are in there to reach all readers, and then the promotion tools that let me share what we can do with students. All right, so some of the user design features that I love are up here. So the single sign-on integration is fantastic. We use 365, but there is an integration, I think, with several different tools. What I love is that students, they get this screen when they open it up. It automatically says sign into Auburn City Schools, and then they get in with their username and password. There's no remembering a different username. So just that lowering the barrier to access for students, especially those younger students or students who have trouble with keeping up with all of that, is great. The curated lists and search filters are amazing. So the interface is really beautiful. You can see my student Claire up there looking for a book. And it lets you do these lists. We have a lot of ours automated. So you've got your new books, your, your different genres and everything, but you can also create some curated lists. And so we've done things like novels in verse. That's something that students are always looking for in my library. We had a visiting author, and we were able to feature our visiting authors' books at the top of our page. So you can do that. And then you've also got really fantastic search and filters so students can find what they are looking for. Claire ended up putting dystopia in there, and she got a great list. She found something that she was reading like 2 minutes later. It was amazing. And I find that those search terms are also really current and useful to students. They're a little bit more friendly than standard headings tend to be in the traditional catalog. So a lot of times I can get a better set of results here than I get in other places. So I actually use it a lot for like reader's advisory. I'll just pull it up and do a search and find books for students based on those search terms. Students can also really filter. They can get really granular with their filters if they want to, if they know that they're looking for something that's a young adult or juvenile, because we are an 8th and 9th grade school. So we have a lot of students who are still reading those like, you know, cute little 4th, 5th, 6th grade style books. And we have a lot of students who are reading YA books. And so it really lets them find what they're looking for. When students get to their little preview screen, when they tap a cover and get to it, they can immediately see if this book is available to borrow, or if they can put it on a hold, or they can preview the book, which is a great feature too. They can read the first few pages, and then if they are a yes, they can continue. And I do have a lot of teachers will bring students in with their classes, and they'll practice that. Like, let's take a minute and decide if you want to get it before you do. When they click on it and view a little more information, there are so many great details, and it has a really beautiful summary page where students can read a summary on the book. I think we all know in a library, not all of our library-bound books have summaries on the back. So this is another spot where it's really nice to be able to pull up a book and read a nice summary. And then this is one of my favorite parts of the summary. It's at the bottom of the page. When they get towards the bottom, they can see, oh, I selected number 3 in the series, but number 1 is also available. So it shows you that, and then it shows you it's also available as an audiobook. So those connections to other titles is really helpful. And then right below this is the more titles like this. So it's really easy to kind of follow and click through and explore books that you might want to take a look at. Another tool I really like are all of these accessibility tools. We all know, you have a percentage of students that are kind of mainstream, and you don't have to really worry about specializing things with them, but those students who fall outside of that, this is a really responsive program for providing what they need. I had a student move into my district last year. He moved in like October, November. It was mid-year. We got very little notice, and he was in the final stages of losing his sight. He had not been born blind, but he was going to be blind within the next year or 2. And so he was a big reader, and that was one of the things he was most upset about. And this was such a great thing to be able to say, look, I have something for you. And we ended up getting him the largest size iPad that you can get. And then you can see right here, there's all these fantastic options. I use the, 40-something-year-old lady font size up there. And then I like that sepia tone. It's easier on my eyes, but you do have high contrast and accessibility sizes available. So he was able to get that font up there in like the hundreds and that high contrast and still be able to read some books. And you've got some other fonts available as well. And so I always show these to students, and I say, whatever works for you, whatever makes reading easier for you, that's what you can use. So those are really wonderful tools to offer to students and to show them to help that reading experience be easier. And again, lower that barrier to access for students. That student I was talking about also, I was able to say, we've got audiobooks, and if there's one that we don't have that you want, we can get it, and I could order those books and have them in within hours. So that's another really wonderful tool to me, is that ability to be responsive. And I frequently have teachers reach out and look for foreign language copies of books, or, books for a student who's not at a reading level, but they want a book with the same themes as the book the rest of the class is reading. And I can be really responsive to those requests, and not have to worry about shipping and processing and all the other things that slow that process down. So a lot of really wonderful accessibility tools. All right. This is one of my other favorite things. Sora does such a great job of promotion, and it makes my job easier. So you can see just a few of the different things. I've got these posters all over the library to remind students, if you don't see this book on the shelf, check Sora. When my 8th graders come in for orientation, their first couple of weeks of school, we always get on as well, make sure we know how to sign on. And then one of my favorite things to tell them is that when they come from 7th to 8th grade, they have leveled up because they have YA access now. And it's so fun to get to explore those books and see them get excited about the size of our collection and the options that are in there. So the big library read and summer suite read are a couple of promotions that allow students simultaneous access to books. And the big library read is like 2 weeks in the fall and 2 weeks in the spring. And they always have a ton of posters or social media graphics, things like that are available. So I just download and print or share. We use Schoology as our learning management system, so I'll put them out there all year long, just reminders. We've got new books. We've got everyone can read this book simultaneously. This was actually one, you can see the little flag on it for the big library read. I think that was this past fall. So those graphics being ready to go make it really easy to promote throughout the year. My reps are also fantastic at keeping me in the loop about what's available. So this summer or early this school year, they sent something about setting up a screen. And so we got this set up, and this just scrolls through books nonstop. I think it's pretty similar to the one that's around on the other side here. But it's just always showing books that are available. And this is up on my smart panel anytime that I'm not teaching on it. So it just reminds students again to get that app out. And then this is something I really like to do when I do a physical display in my library. If I'm pulling books for a theme for a month, something like that, novels and verse for poetry month, I will also create these little print graphics that have the summary and the picture. And then that QR code is a direct link. So when kids scan it, it pops the book up and they can choose to borrow it. And I'll just mix those in with my print books to kind of highlight all the different options that students have for that. And then one of the other things that I've done in the past few years that I really like is anytime I order books on Overdrive, I get Mark Express records. And I can bring those in. I use Destiny. So I bring those into Destiny. And when kids do a search, it'll show that there's a book. There's no call number on it. So I teach them if there's no call number, that means it's an ebook. There is a link in there as well. So they can click that link and it'll pop the app open. And they can check the book out there. And that's been a wonderful tool for students and then also for me. So when kids come up to me and they're like, I want such and such book, but it's not on the shelf, I can say, oh, okay, but we do have a copy on Sora. So you've got some options. And I had a kid checking out The Weight of Blood last week. I don't know if you guys have seen that one. It's so good. But she was checking it out and it's a kind of thick book. And I was like, there's an audiobook on Sora. And she was like, I can listen to it while I read. And I said, yes. And the audiobook is so good. So y'all check that out. If you have a plane ride home or something, that is a fantastic audiobook. But that's really helpful for both me and for students. All right. I am open to questions. I think I talked faster than I should have. But if you have any questions, I will point out this is another thing I meant to mention. Sora does a great job of promoting itself. When students sign in the very first time, they get an achievement. It's the blast off achievement. It's the little character. And then as they do things, they get achievements for turning books in early, for spending sustained time reading, for reading in all kinds of genres. So it's very great at just encouraging kids to try to branch out and continue reading in a lot of different formats.